All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining this press conference. We really appreciate you tuning in from everywhere across the country. This is a super exciting event for us. This is the Techstars Startup Weekend Remote USA event, and we are so happy to have you here. Before we jump in, I'm just going to open up with a video that one of our partners put together just to explain and visually explain who we are, what we're doing, what we're about, and how we are going to be problem solving as it relates to COVID-19.
Startup Weekend helps thousands of entrepreneurs in cities all over the world connect with everyone, from designers and developers to mentors and investors, all with the combined goal to see your idea brought to life. For the first time in Startup Weekend's history, the event is going from regional to remote. You can now build your team and go to launch from the comfort of your quarantine in under 54 hours and across all borders. Due to the Pandora's box of challenges that COVID has opened, everything from education and health of small businesses to sports and entertainment has been dramatically affected. Startup Weekend Remote is dedicating their resources and community to design solutions affecting those on the front lines. Based remotely, we have streamlined your online experience by leveraging some of the most powerful online platforms and communities like never before. Utilize video chat and screen sharing through Zoom to maintain interpersonal collaboration. Access the entire online community, bulletin board, and schedule from Discord. And experience showcases and pitches live on Demo Day through YouTube Live. You can help us change the course of history by teaming up with some of the top specialists and professionals to develop strategies that may flatten the curve of this COVID-19 pandemic. Simply find us on Eventbrite to register and learn more.
And thank you, Visceral Art. That was a wonderful overview of what we are collectively trying to do. At this point, I would like to turn this over to some folks from our headquarters, and Steven Rodriguez. I'm gonna pass you the mic here. And for everybody, I'm Jacqueline, and I'm calling in from New York. Steven, let us know who you are, what your role is, and give us some insight into Startup Weekend.
Sure. Hey, everyone. My name is Steven Rodriguez. I'm the regional manager for the US and Canada for our startup programs over here at Techstars. And we're super excited for this amazing initiative. We have more than 10,000 registrations and going up. So worldwide right now. So super excited to see how things go over the weekend, which are going to be great, and the ideas and all that. And again, for those who may not know, Techstars is the global platform for investment and innovation. And our focus is we make innovation accessible to everyone, everywhere. And that's why we're excited about this Techstars Global Startup Weekend Online. And thank you so much, Jacqueline, and all the amazing organizers, all the amazing mentors, the judges, and the bright-minded participants who really make the magic happen and bring this to life.
Thank you. Where are you calling in from?
I'm calling in from New York City right now.
Oh, hello, neighbor. Awesome. Thank you, Steven. Let's hear a little bit more from Audrey. Could you please share with us your perspective of what's going on and give us some insight into the areas that we are going to be focusing on?
Everyone, my name is Audrey Gibson. I'm calling in from Charleston, South Carolina, and I'm an entrepreneur and ecosystem builder here. And this is a very unique event, even in perspective to startup weekends. Typically, startup weekends happen on an annual basis in cities across the world, and they happen on the community level. And so communities come together and they work on everyday problem solving and putting together a jumpstart for getting companies started. And so we really wanted to take this opportunity not only to branch out from what our typical idea of community would be, right? So typically we think of community as maybe our backyard. And I feel like this event has connected us more as a global community. And so we really wanted to address some of those global community issues that we're all experiencing at some level. And so we're going to be looking at a number of different categories specifically related to COVID-19. Those would include health, vulnerable populations, community, entertainment, business, and education. So participants in the event can certainly brainstorm and come up with ideas beyond those categories. But already we've seen coming through our Discord channels some really, really incredible ideas related to those things. And so we're just really excited as an organizing team to continue to see what people are going to come up with and put companies together to tackle these really, really important issues that are coming to light right now.
Thank you, Audra. This is where I would like to tap one of our national organizers who works alongside Audra, Grant. If you would just give us some insight into the ideas that you are coming across as we are receiving submissions and idea submissions, just to give everybody an insight into the type of innovation that we are expecting to see.
Hey everyone, thanks one for jumping on the call and two, being a part of this awesome community. The innovation by definition, right, are things we haven't seen. And so there are ways that people are discussing going about regular life in a post-COVID world where you can interact in ways that you couldn't before, are some of the ideas we've seen, or creating opportunities to interact that we didn't before because we have a new way we need to. And so the innovation really is a very human-centric interaction. And what people are doing is taking that interaction that's new or that has to be updated with the post-COVID world and shining bright lights on it. And so far we've been seeing some super innovative ideas around checking in, around getting things or sending things, and then information sharing too. Looking forward to the pitches and the final presentations on Sunday.
Great, thank you. Kai, would you just speak a little bit about, from an investor's viewpoint, of the value that you see in this event? I know you've been involved with Techstars Startup Weekend for quite some time. Give us some insight on what the global economy is looking like and what this event will do for either investors or new companies with new ideas that maybe are entering into a new wave of innovation.
Great. Good morning, everyone. This is Kai Holland. I'm up in Anchorage, Alaska. And I've been involved with the Startup Weekends for a number of years in a number of different roles, but also working with the Alaska Investor Network, the angel community, and a seed manager with an early investment fund for startups. We've looked at the Startup Weekends as one of our most valuable ways of connecting with the local innovators and entrepreneurs in our community. The investors tend to be some of the best mentors that we bring in. And this is a really great relationship because we depend upon the mentors in the Startup Weekends to bring some acumen about the business world, about what's not just a good idea, but an investable idea. The investors at the same time develop experience and knowledge about how to work with startups, what new ideas are coming around. And at this point, we've got almost 200 people that have volunteered to be mentors. And many of these are investors because they see this as a lens into what's happening and what will come in this new normal, this post-COVID world that we're creating. This is such an amazing way to gain insight and for the investors to give back into the community, but also they learn, they develop relationships, and the participants in these events always come back and say that mentor contact they had, the relationships they built, was one of the most important parts of the Startup Weekend. But I'll tell you, it works the other way. The investors come away saying, wow, that was one of the most energizing, best ways I've learned to understand startups and to understand the trajectory, their thinking, and where they're going, and to see some really interesting opportunities and follow up on that. And we've got a track record up here of seeing businesses come through a startup, get started, go through their early business model development processes, and then become investable businesses. Thanks, and I look forward to any questions you'll have later.
Amazing. Thank you, Kai. Really appreciate that. Next up, I would like to speak with, or have Julian Bryant speak with all of us and our viewers as well. Let us know the lens that you're speaking to us from. Where are you calling in from? And we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Hi everybody, my name is Julian Bryant. I am down here in sunny San Diego. I went to my first Startup Weekend event back in 2009. I had an idea and I got to form a team and see that come to fruition. And I asked one of the organizers there, like, okay, that's great, but I had to travel to LA, and I was like, when are you guys gonna have an event in San Diego? And they said, as soon as you organize one, we'll be there. I thought, okay. And so I organized one event in San Diego, and since then I've been organizing and facilitating events for Startup Weekend, internationally too. But the point of that was that at all these events, I got to see new people, get to learn to mentors, got to meet amazing people who shared my interests, and got to learn about entrepreneurship most of all. For this weekend, I'll be one of the facilitators helping the participants through their weekend, and I'm excited to see that so many years later that Startup Weekend's still about getting the community involved and addressing problems that we see and learning about entrepreneurship. So I'll be here working with people this weekend, and I'm glad to see all of you.
Great. We're super excited to see you, and have fun with all the teams out there. I know we have somewhere close to, I think we're heading towards 1,000 participants. We'll be doing a major marketing and PR push over the next few days, and we're expecting to see those numbers rise very rapidly. So we're super stoked to be behind this. I've got two more people I'd like to call out to. Laura, we'd love to hear from you. I know you went through Techstars Startup Weekend at one point. Share a little bit about what you do. What was the idea that you had when you went through it? And what are you looking forward to currently in this environment as it relates to this event?
Well, good morning, everybody. This is nice to be joining this call. Yeah, my name is Laura Oden. I'm the CEO of Pandier Shoes. We originally, our founders, our core team, all met at Startup Weekend, and I pitched an idea, and we formed a group, and that idea went on, like so many others, to become a real company and to go quite a long way. So we make expandable footwear for people with medical conditions who have a lot of difficulty finding shoes to fit, particularly with swollen feet. People with edema have a terrible time finding shoes. I have had personally a chronic condition that causes one foot to swell for about 40 years. And so this is kind of how this company began, out of a tremendous need that the footwear industry wasn't addressing. So we started from the Startup Weekend and have grown from there. And now we've been launched online we're in year 2.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Laura. It's amazing to see when companies come out of, when they start as an idea and then they really form into something tangible. And when these companies and groups of people really look to add value back into the world and hit those pain points and those problems that can affect ourselves as well as our family members. I know a few people that my family that have that as well, and I think they wish they had that shoe. So I'm happy to point them in your direction. I also just want to switch gears here and thank all of our partners who have come together to make this event a success. We really are taking the model of Techstars Startup Weekend and re-innovating it, pushing it online. This is a first ever effort, and we have some incredible partners. I want to just show you a screen quick so we can recognize them. we have a number of global partners and national partners who have stepped up to the plate here. You'll be able to understand it. The sooner that we will reach the excuse me. And our beloved community partners as well. We will be updating the partner list on our website at www.startupweekend.us. And David Turkel, I'd love for you to speak on what you guys are doing in LA. You guys are really trailblazing there. Let us know what you're involved in, the type of innovation you're seeing, and how you look to partner with us during this time.
Sure. And thank you so much, Jacqueline, for organizing it, and the amazing team over at Techstars for including us. We're so fortunate to be here and so fortunate to be with such brilliant minds over here. My name is David Turkel. I'm based in Los Angeles, and I'm the communications director and co-founder of Scale Health, formerly Scale LA. We've just expanded to Orange County, Vietnam, and are looking to expand to several cities across the country in order to be the home of healthcare and life science startups looking for the resources to grow, succeed, and reinvest in their various communities. We want to build a global health innovation ecosystem by connecting startups, strategic partners, communities, and local governments so that everyone's on the same page, especially as major health crises occur. It was our vision back to figure out, well, how do we figure out a lot of the systemic issues in various communities, and how do we create a solution for the root causes that exist in those various communities? And so we chose healthcare a few years back because we realized that that was at the core of all the systemic injustices across various communities across the country. So right now we have over 15 companies that are actively working to fight the COVID-19 virus. We are currently bringing in several more, and we're working with several different ecosystems across the country in order to make sure that they have the resources they need to effectively fight this virus. So we are super excited for this startup weekend. We are super excited to offer our health expertise with everything, and let us know how we can help you all in general. We're here for this. We are definitely people over profits, and we want to make sure that we're able to effectively curb the spread of this virus and once and for all eradicate it. So we want to thank everyone who's been on this call. We're going to be fighting. We haven't stopped. We've been working 7 days a week, 20-hour days. So we're excited for hopefully this all to be over eventually, but we're excited to see our companies step up in the fight and drop their egos at the door and really work together for some collective action.
Great, thank you. It's really fun to watch you guys make such a large impact on communities in Los Angeles and expanding outwards very rapidly. Whatever you guys are doing, it's wonderful. Does anybody have any questions for anybody here? I've got Jen, great. From all of your different perspectives, what kind of long-term effects are you anticipating from the coronavirus, COVID-19 pandemic on new or existing startups? I'm open to anybody who's got a thought on that. If you, Kai.
Jacqueline, I'll just kind of give you a piece of this. If we went back a month ago, most of the investor community, and indeed many of the entrepreneurs and innovators, were just kind of stuck trying to figure out what's happening, where is this going. But I tell you, particularly in the community of investors and all these mentors and whatnot, people have shifted in the last few weeks. They're now realizing that the old normal, it didn't serve us very well when this bug came along, and there's something new that we need to do to create more robust communities. Existing businesses need to pivot and try and be more entrepreneurial and finding new ways of doing their business safely and growing. And there's new business opportunities that are being created that we didn't see before. And so there's kind of a new wave of energy at this point around not only helping speed up the recovery and getting current businesses online faster because of adjusting how they run businesses and using some of these entrepreneurial methods and techniques and lean approaches, but at the same time there's new businesses on there. So this is a little naive or a little optimistic maybe, but the idea is that folks are looking for ways to speed up the recovery and maybe to even create a better trajectory when we're done, that builds upon where we were, but actually a more resilient future, and one that will get us back on that strong economic growth we were on, but a different economic growth that'll be more resilient in the future.
Sure. So just mending the cracks in the foundation that we already stand on and that our economy stands on. Great perspective and great insight. I have a few more questions here. We've got one from a Grant. Where can Main Street businesses look for opportunities to connect their communities? Do we have a community builder here?
So I can speak to that a little bit from my entrepreneurial experience. One of my companies here is a travel and event planning business, and quite a number of the folks that we work with are tour companies, restaurants, things like that, and a lot of them for a long time haven't even really necessarily engaged a lot with websites. They've just been sort of connected to their community by people strolling in and connecting with people that way. And so I feel like one of the things that we can do as entrepreneurs, and especially from the perspective of the tech community, is give them tools and resources to be able to make those connections that they were so used to making face-to-face with the implementation of hopefully some really easy to use tech. And I think providing not only the actual operating tech, but also some education around that tech will help some of these mom and pop businesses, some of these storefronts that are really used to just engaging with their customers as they stroll on down the street, be able to connect them not only back with their customers, but also with other business owners. I think a lot of these business owners are experiencing really similar pain points right now. Mm-hmm. And so if we give them some tools and resources to not only connect with the other folks who are experiencing this from a business perspective, but also to connect back to the community and potential customers, that's going to be a key linchpin in helping these storefronts, these Main Street folks thrive in the next year and a half, 2 years to come.
Great insight. Thank you, Audra. Would anybody like to? Oh, right. Yes, maybe. Let's see what we've got here. Laura, maybe if you'd like to take a question, I think Connor has. I think you're on mute here. Let me see. There we go.
Yeah, I saw that one come in. So the question is, how can teams implement and scale their ideas after Startup Weekend? And one of the things that I think was important for us was taking the time to get ready for launch, like really taking the time that we needed. So it took us, 2.5 years to prototype some shoes. When we first started, we thought, we should be able to get a prototype out in 6 months. Well, we were wrong. And so as far as the reason I'm pointing that out is because as far as scaling goes, you will be in so much of a better position if you take the time to get your product or your service or your idea really well developed before you try to launch. And then from the startup community, the whole startup network is such a fantastic resource for helping you develop your ideas actually into a launchable idea. So as far as scaling goes, I would say reaching into that Startup Weekend network will get you, because there's so many different ideas, it'll get you to the point where you'll be able to launch and then scale.
Great, thank you. We've got one more question here. What does Startup, and this is from Grant, what does Startup Weekend do for the entrepreneurs as people to set them up for success as entrepreneurs? Sorry, I was having a little tech glitch there. Again, the question, what does Startup Weekend do for the entrepreneurs as people to set them up for success as entrepreneurs?
I want to jump in on that one. One of the great things about all Startup Weekends, especially about this event, is that during the course of the weekend, we plug the teams into a group of mentors and coaches who can really help guide them and answer their questions as they're trying to form a startup in a particular space. For this event, I think there's a couple hundred mentors and coaches that have been found to be plugged into this event. So that's going to be a great opportunity for the people participating to build relationships with people who could really help them during the weekend and continue those relationships even after the weekend's over.
Great, thank you. We have another question. Healthcare can be very hard to break into as an entrepreneur. What can we do to build relationships on the private industry side and change cultures that sometimes have a hard time changing? And I think perhaps David Turkel.
Can you repeat the question? I'm so sorry.
Absolutely. Healthcare can be very hard to break into as an entrepreneur. What can we do to build relationships on the private industry side and change cultures that sometimes have a hard time changing?
Absolutely. So, especially to the point of changing cultures that have a hard time changing. One of the things that we've made very clear that we want to do with our ecosystem is make sure that it's not just an old boys club. There are plenty of healthcare entrepreneurs and tech entrepreneurs who exist from all different parts of LA and not just Silicon Beach, whether that be Inglewood, South LA, Watts, Gardena, Compton. And we want to make sure those communities are just as heard as the various communities that are getting a lot of love on the West Side or in, places like, the upper rich part of San Francisco. We want to make sure that, poorer communities and underserved communities are able to have the same voice, and maybe we can give them better resources in order to jumpstart those decisions. Especially the same with healthcare. We look at the racial disparity and the gender disparity between demographics within healthcare, and we want to make sure that female entrepreneurs are having the resources that they need and connecting them with VC firms that especially specialize in promoting these different types of organizations. So we're here for those different resources, and we want to make it very clear that this isn't just an old boys network. We want to make very, very clear that we are here to promote healthcare for all people and by all people. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring as many different people, especially leaders in government, who can speak to those kind of issues and make sure that those voices are heard.
Great, thank you. And Jacqueline, I know that you are also involved in the all things health. So if you can speak to that as well.
Sure. So I am part of a program called Health Tie. We're based in Alaska, and what we are a disruption hub for trying to make healthcare better for Alaskans. Sounds like I share a lot of interest with all of you, but possibly with David Turkel. But Alaska has the highest healthcare costs in the United States. And what we do is we bring entrepreneurs in to show us how we can make things better. So I'm excited to be here. We're a sponsor for this Startup Weekend. And I think that everyone that I've seen speak today really speaks to the things that Health Tie is trying to do. We're trying to bring the change makers, the community together and trying to make things better for everyone who are involved. So thank you.
Great, thank you. And two other things popped to mind that I would love to touch on. One of our areas of interest happens to be entertainment, but before I get there, on the topic of government and healthcare and health in general, we've called out everybody from researchers to nurses to doctors to graphic designers to entrepreneurs to policymakers in order to come together to problem solve as a unit. For those of you who are familiar with the policy side of things, what sorts of policies, policy overhaul do we think we need to see, or where are those missing gaps right now that relate to the number of businesses that are being represented, business industries that are being represented in this call? Does anybody have a thought on that? I guess we can skip that, which is all right if anybody has anything to say. But
Jacqueline, I'll speak to that if
Sure.
no one else has insight.
You're observing the world.
Yeah, absolutely. So healthcare has not been my pocket per se from the entrepreneurial perspective ever in my entrepreneurial career. However, the past 2 months, just as things have been happening, I've found myself really, really wanting to engage more in the health community, in the medical community. And I think what I've seen is just an attitude of more openness to being flexible in terms of connections and ideas. And I'm hoping that eventually that will flow up to the chains of government and regulation that we need it to. So what I found myself doing was speaking with other entrepreneurs and connections that I had to just say, hey, let's get the people connected that need to be connected, right? So what we've seen a lot of is people pivoting to be able to help some of these health initiatives. One of the things that really comes to mind there are 3D printing companies. So we've seen 3D printing companies across the United States pivot from maybe they used to make medical models and now they're making face shields and PPE for the frontline hospital staff that need them. And so connecting those folks with the folks in supply chain and logistics and management in some of these medical facilities, hospitals, things like that. And I actually found it just a lot easier than I expected it to be, I guess is what I will say. If I was sending someone an email and saying, hi, I'm writing you from Charleston, South Carolina. I'm connected with this 3D printing company that has PPE. I know that might be a need for you guys right now. Let me know how I can help. I was all of a sudden getting a lot of emails back from people in the medical community who were in charge of staffing and supply chain and things like that, saying, yes, please, thank you. Please help us get connected. And I think one of the other things that we've seen in terms of flexibility in our scientific and technical community in relation to health is people being really innovative in terms of how to create solutions, right? So the issue of not having enough ventilators, for instance, has come up. And all of a sudden we've got companies that are creating ventilators that maybe use helium systems as a power, or people at universities. Auburn University has created a conversion to turn a CPAP machine into a ventilator, right? And so there's all of these really pliable, really innovative thoughts that are coming out of these initiatives. And one of the ways that we've seen the FDA respond is that they have been granting sort of precautionary or temporary approval on some of these things to just try to speed up the process. And so I think that if we can find a way to find that right balance between doing the research, doing the testing that needs to be done still to protect people and making sure that we're not putting out products or methodologies into the healthcare market that are unsafe, we can find a balance between that and then also just making the process more efficient and quicker. I think that's going to be a key way that we're going to be able to just propel things along and make things more efficient for future use cases.
Great, thank you. Yeah, it's encouraging to see all of the different systems at play, public and private, and I'm excited to have some of our policy experts included in the event as well to plug in their ideas with innovation. I think when the two work hand in hand, we can do remarkable things. One of the areas of innovation that we're focusing on during our event that has not been mentioned, and I just want to bring it up, particularly because the NFL draft is going on right now, so some of our athletes couldn't be present at this moment. But the entertainment and the sports community, the sporting world is in a lot of trouble right now. So we've expanded our reach for this event to include athletes. In particular, there's large. I know we keep going back to health, but this is a big one. Not only are athletes not able to practice in their sport, but their mental health is being affected as well. The big conversation with the NCAA, in particular with college athletes, as well as the transition into professional athletic careers or into business careers. There's a gap there that a lot of the athletes are falling into in terms of mental health. A lot of their time is being spent training, and when you make that pivot out of training into a regular career, that readjustment is a very difficult process when support networks or resources or platforms that don't exist for athletes to communicate with other like-minded athletes, because at the end of the day, they think very differently. That's something that is being looked at as well. We've got some athletes joining that I know of joining the weekend in order to maybe tip the needle on that part there. Same with entertainment. A lot of my friends when I lived in LA, they were professional entertainers and singers. So when Coachella is no longer something that is going on this year, Ultra Music Festival, these are just some of the larger names that get thrown around social media out there, and I'm sure maybe some of you've been to or have not. But there is a massive, these large areas where there is no revenue flow. So what does somebody and what do populations do who fall in that area? What do they do without their way to make a living? So I'm just passing some thoughts out there for everybody as well. And I will pivot one more. We've got another question. What values do you think will change because of this? Well, before I ask anybody to jump in, I'll state that I see a lot of value and purpose-driven innovation coming out of the woodwork and asking for a seat at the table during this Techstars Startup Weekend. I think it's absolutely remarkable. I had a conversation with the head of branding from Reddit yesterday, and his focus and observation has been on just sitting back and looking at how many purpose-driven individuals are rising to the occasion during this pandemic, and it is absolutely wonderful to see. So that's my take on it. Does anybody else have a last thought before we try to wrap this up on what values we think will change because of all of this?
Can I just say something on this topic?
Yes.
I think one of the things that I find interesting about this particular time is, it seems to me like an opportunity, a time where a lot of people will, there's an opportunity to see new businesses in a new way. I mean, it's sort of like when the stock market falls and it's a time to buy low. I think a lot of existing businesses are going to get harmed and go away. And out of the ashes, I think there's a lot of new businesses and new ideas that have the potential for getting some attention paid to. And I do see that as a silver lining. And, when the economy is bad, that it is often an opportunity. And I think we're probably all aware of that because we believe in that kind of thing. But I just think it's true. And so look for the opportunities, support the opportunities.
Great. Thank you. This has been really wonderful. I'm sure we'll have some more questions later, but we'll reach out separately to anybody who has questions beyond this at the moment. Again, we're headed towards hitting our 1,000 participant short-term goal. We expect those numbers to rapidly increase over the next few days. We're very excited. I'm very proud of all of our organizers showing up in the face of this adversity, and just couldn't be more optimistic about where we're headed beyond this and into the future. And we've got a lot of leaders here in this room, so thank you all. We've got 60 facilitators signed up, 230 mentors registered, tons of teams being formed. It's growing by the hour. looking forward to seeing you guys and working with everybody. Let's rock this out. And that's all I've got to say from my end. All right, guys. I appreciate it. And we will keep communicating over the next few days. All right, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Great to see everybody.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great job.